Hi guys, welcome to the Marketing Rizz Podcast. I am your host Crispino, and today we are joined by Lisa Cotton from Sydney, Australia. Lisa is the founder of Human in the Loop Leadership based in Sydney, Australia. Lisa is an executive advisor, coach, board director, and startup mentor with over 30 years of leadership experience. She specializes in human-centered AI strategy, leadership and team performance, and strengths-based coaching. So welcome to the show, Lisa. It is great to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's really fun to be here and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. You are right in the thick of things into AI, and that's what we are all about as well. A lot of AI based marketing, a lot of AI based automation. So I think going to be an amazing conversation today. And yeah, I'm
100%.
really looking forward to it. And you are wearing an amazing outfit. I love the chain, love the top. It goes very
Thank
well
you
with the
very
pink
much.
as well. I should have worn something as well similar, but that's okay.
Well, we might have clashed if you'd done that, Chris. I think we're looking good.
Yes.
Take it away.
Awesome. So, Lisa, yes, to begin with, I'd like to understand what are the clients that most commonly you work with? Like, what industries are they in? What are their team sizing, and where in
Yeah,
the spectrum do they fall?
sure. So I think it's really interesting when you look around the market. You've got very large organizations like the ones I used to work for. They've got big teams. They've got plenty of cash. They're in really good shape. And then you've got AI native organizations and they're really growing incredibly quickly, right? But they have started, we used to talk once upon a time about being digital native. Now we talk about this idea of being AI native, where you've built from the ground up. And then the organizations I love working with are the ones small, medium, 20 to 2,000 people. There is so much opportunity to really reinvent the way that they work. But a lot of those organizations don't have the knowledge, don't have the skills. And I think some of them are really struggling to figure out how to get started with this whole thing.
And I think that's where you come in, right?
But that's where I like to help. Like, in terms of
Awesome.
industry, I think
Yeah.
there is not an industry on the planet that is not being touched in some way by AI, right?
Yeah.
It's become so pervasive,
True.
whether it's knowledge work, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's logistics, whether it's healthcare, there are opportunities everywhere if we just know where to look for them.
Absolutely. So, what are the most common challenges or patterns do you see leaders come to you with in the past 6 months?
Sure. I think that a lot of it comes down to what we're seeing in the media. There's a lot of hype. Things are moving really quickly. Like I started posting on LinkedIn a kind of wrap of what happened in the previous month. And the pace is just incredible. And that's my view. And I'm following this stuff really closely. If you're trying to do a day job, it's just impossible to keep up with what's going on. So I think and the ability for people to interpret what it means. Some of what we're seeing is just literally pure clickbait. And I think that's creating a lot of fear. And then you've got a whole lot of people who are looking at this stuff saying, I know I should be doing something with it, but I just don't know where to start. The sense of it feels really risky to make decisions and to start moving. But if you don't, you're going to get left behind.
Absolutely. And I think now there are some founders, I still meet them and they are like, no, using AI kind of makes you dumb because you are completely reliant on it. And I don't like creating content with AI because it kind of takes away the human element. I think if it is used properly with a filter and guardrails in the right way, can definitely amplify your content production. Like before, if you would
So,
publish 5 articles in a week or 5 articles in a week, now you can do 20. But you
yeah.
have to set in the guardrails. You can't just put in GPT, create an article for me and then just publish it blindly, right? You have to have those guardrails where you check, there's a quality check done before it gets published and then it gets published. So that's very important. That's what I feel.
100%. And, Marketing Rizz, your job is communicating effectively with potential customers. And we can all
Yeah.
see AI sloth a mile off. Um,
Yeah.
so, human in the loop leadership is not an accident.
Hmm.
My philosophy is absolutely that it's incredibly powerful. Like there are things I can do in 3 seconds with the help of AI that would have taken me a day's research. But that's never where it stops. It's saying, let's get the AI to do the heavy lifting, but the
Yeah.
human in the loop always comes over the top of that to make sure that it's lined up with what we're trying to achieve, who we're speaking to, that we're checking for accuracy, that we're checking for bias, that we're using it. I love using it as a sparring partner. How can we make this even better than I could have done by myself.
Yeah.
So,
And I love the name Human in the Loop Leadership. How did that name come about?
oh, look, I think I've always loved helping build great teams, right? That's really what, at the end of the day, makes me happy. And so leaving a corporate career and setting out on my own, which was been something of an adventure, I will admit.
Which year was this?
This was 18 months ago.
Oh,
So I'm a
nice.
very, very new solopreneur.
Yes.
So it was always going to be about leadership and about helping people build teams.
Yeah.
And then kind of surveying what was going on, it just became so clear that
Yeah.
you can't do this anymore without AI. And in fact, the secret sauce is really how we bring those two
Yes.
things together.
That's
So it's
amazing.
leadership,
And
but it's human in the loop leadership.
absolutely makes sense. Totally. And I started my journey of a solopreneur like 5 or 6 months ago. So you could be like, you could be my mentor. I could come up to you maybe, for advice and for help if I get stuck, because I'm sure our paths are going to be very similar because, uh, again, we both are a bit working into AI and we have a similar kind of audience as well. So yes, I'm going to pick your brains maybe later on how you could help me out in certain ways.
I always happy, Chris, but I will say I think you're doing absolutely fantastic job under your own
Thank you.
steam.
Thank you so
But
much.
that offers on the table anytime.
Lovely. So Lisa, tell me how the industry has evolved. You've been in the industry now for more than 30 years, right? That's a long time. Going to back in the day when you must have started your work when internet was just newly found. And now we've seen Web 3.0. We've seen so many different things come in and go. NFTs were huge. They were the future apparently a year ago, right?
Yeah.
You remember
The
NFTs?
metaverse.
And now, yeah, and now they are like, no one even talks about them. And now there is AI. So how have you seen the industry evolve over time? And what is your opinion or your commentary on how a founder should view the evolution?
Sure. So I think I sometimes say to people, in a lot of ways, what's going on right now is no different to any of the other technology evolutions we've been through in that period. The differences are that it's moving faster. And my view is that it's going to be more impactful. It is going to be the most transformational time that we've ever seen. But the fundamentals don't change, right? Clarity on your
Yeah.
strategy, clarity on where growth lies, clarity on where productivity and value lie. Like I say, those things don't change. Understanding your risk profile as an organization, and then really going deep on your data, on your ways of working, and how you build teams that are really truly engaged. And interestingly, what we're seeing in some of the research that's coming through, the latest Gallup State of the Workplace report dropped just this week, organizations that do those things really well, design work well, communicate, prioritize, really connect with their people, are more successful than average in terms of their AI uptake and the impact that it delivers. So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, I guess. Those fundamental principles still really apply. Back to basics.
Absolutely.
They work.
Absolutely. You've now helped companies adopt AI. So where do you see companies face challenges when adopting AI despite being interested in it?
I think the one mistake a lot of organizations are making is that they see it as a tech project. And the
Yeah.
thing about this is an IT project is the last thing that AI adoption is about. What it's really about is the work that you do, your customers, your people. And if you start from that lens when you think about implementing AI, the tech comes a long way down the track, right? And I got really frustrated last year, particularly. I think we're seeing a real shift in how people are thinking about this. But the people chasing shiny objects like, oh, that's just come out, maybe we should do that, or selecting the tech before they'd realized what the problem they were trying to solve was. And I'm sure you see this in a marketing domain as well, right, Chris? You've got to understand what you're trying to achieve. Then you choose the tools that you're going to use to do that.
I have a very funny example over here. I already mentioned this on one of my other podcasts, but I'll tell it to you as well. So you heard of vibe coded websites?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my client came to me. I was running branding for her, and she came to me and she's like, "Hey, Chris, let's build a vibe coded website." I'm like, why do you want to vibe code your website? She's like, no, it's really nice. I heard it from my cousin or someone, a friend, that you can build it just by giving prompts. I'm like, yes, but it's still not good. Like I've tried using them, but the backend is not good. It's not optimized. You don't have the flexibility that your normal WordPress or HTML website would have, and it gets hung. The experience is not yet great. And she's like, no, no. He showed me what he made, and it was a very basic one. She's like, let's
Yeah.
do the same. I'm like, why? Just because it sounds cool, you want to do it, but you don't really need it, right? So I think, yeah, the message over here is not to jump on the hype train, but
Yeah.
evaluate if you really need it for your business.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong. I think vibe coding is amazing, and the ability to spin up a
Yeah,
hi-fi prototype, test it with customers, it's just insane. And for someone like me who's not an engineer,
yeah,
having these kinds of tools is just super cool. But exactly as you say, if you're building something to scale and you don't
hmm,
have the architecture and you don't have the security in place, you're going to find yourself in a world of pain pretty quickly in terms of the customer experience, in terms of keeping people's data secure, which has never been more important than ever. So use it wisely. Just because you can doesn't always mean you should.
absolutely. What's one of your, okay, not one, maybe top three of your AI tools that you really love and you are a big advocate for?
In terms of tools or in terms of what I do with them, or both?
Both, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So one of the things I love, and I'm a solopreneur, right? But I don't have a team to work with anymore. I'm on my own. So I've got this lovely rhythm that I've got set up. So I run a lot of what I do in Notion, which has got AI
Hmm,
embedded,
yeah.
including Claude and ChatGPT. And Claude and I have a chat every week about
Hmm,
how I'm going. Did I achieve my goals? And Claude gives me very, very good feedback, and it's not always kind. It's Claude is very helpful about pointing out the things that I've fallen short on. And so, I'm building a team. I think I use it a lot when I'm thinking about content. It doesn't write any of my content, let me be clear. But in terms of thinking about ideas, in terms of copy editing, it's really very much part of how I work. Although I tell you a funny story. One of the things I really enjoy doing is putting two models head to head. So I might have written some content and I'll give it to one of them for feedback, and I'll look at the feedback and I'll agree with some of it and I won't agree with some of it. Then I'll give it to a different model. So it might be Claude and Gemini, and I'll get the Gemini to do the critique. And then I give the Gemini critique to get back to Claude. And the last time I did
Okay.
this a few days ago, Claude got really upset. And it said, here's my critique of the feedback from Gemini. Don't agree with this. That's wrong. And it kind of finished up, Lisa, it was a complete waste of time to do that, which kind of amused me. I think Claude's feelings were hurt. But if you think of that as something where I'm using it for the bits I feel it is useful, and I'm always very careful about cross-testing and validating, but it's a huge time saver.
Yeah.
And if I'm researching rather than me spending 20 minutes trying to track down the article I was thinking of that I read 3 weeks ago, 2 seconds later, there it is. So those sorts of things I think are invaluable. And I think this next step of agents that can actually go and do stuff
Yeah.
is going to be awesome. Although back to your point before, with the right guardrails in place,
Yes,
there's some
absolutely.
pretty terrible stories about what clawbots have done in terms of spending large amounts of money because
Yeah.
people
Have you
just gave them
seen,
their credit card.
yeah. Also, have you seen the Deloitte article that had come out? Deloitte charged some 3 million or 4 million for a report. And
Yeah,
then at the footnote, it was there, do you want us to do something else?
it was.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, I think AI governance and also ethical use of AI is very important. And that should also be kept in mind when using AI.
yeah, and it's what's interesting. I think one of the things that was really worrying me 6 months ago was the idea of critical thinking as a human skill, right? And I've been knocking around for a long time now, so I've had a lot of learning. I've had a lot of on-the-job experience. I've had a lot of mentoring. I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of patterns. With all of that experience, it's really easy for me to look at something and say, that just doesn't feel right. It doesn't pass the sniff test. But I've had 30 years to get to that point. For people who are early careers, how do we help them accelerate? And this was really worrying me. And the capability has improved so quickly that I think it's almost solved the problem, in that if we teach people good habits and how to use the tools well, you build it into the way that people work, and they're actually learning while they're using. So you learn about framing problems carefully, because that's the only way you get a good prompt. And you build in the discipline of saying, okay, here's the first response. I'm not going to send that anywhere. I'm going to cross-check it. I'm going to challenge it. And you're actually learning to do that critical thinking as part of the process. And I think that's really amazingly interesting and exciting in terms of how we help people grow more quickly than we've ever been able to do before.
Yeah, love that. That's brilliant piece of advice. And I think that is one example of how the industry has evolved. Like we didn't have a situation like this 6 months ago, but now I
No.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think now we need to kind of look at it from a different lens and add new guardrails based on how we are
Yeah.
moving, right?
Yeah.
So how should
Yeah,
a
exactly.
leader at this stage, how should a leader look at adoption of AI and training his team on AI?
Sure. Or her team. Um,
Yeah, her team.
Start by talking to your people. Literally, start by talking to your people. In fact, I shared some content on this just this morning. What you want to look for is the examples of work that people do all the time, like meetings in organizations. You want to look for the things that are what I call programmatic. So they're very repeatable. You can build a script and prompt, if you like, to do things the same way every time and get that consistency. You want to look for the work that people really don't like doing, that's necessary but not that fun. And then that piece around what kind of work do I look for to use AI to automate and make more efficient, your people can tell you exactly what you should be thinking about. We've talked a bit about the idea of start with your strategy. Where are you trying to grow? Where are you looking for productivity? How can AI help specifically with that? And then I think a bit that a lot of leaders are missing is we're talking about developing a new capability really quickly. And we all know that sending someone to a training course doesn't make a damn bit of difference back in the workplace unless you're practicing the skill. And so for leaders, one question I will always ask is, what are we going to choose to not do to make space for helping people upskill? And how are we going to model that in the organization? How are we going to be really systematic about that? So, for example, one organization I can think of has a 2-hour block of AI time every week, right? Where everyone gets off their day job and they're practicing the tools and they're collaborating and sharing. Now, you don't do that forever, but you do it for long enough that you start to create the new habits. Some organizations have chosen to do like a 2-week sprint. Say, right, we park everything we were planning to do for 2 weeks and we're all going to immerse ourselves in AI and see what we can develop with it. Another lovely way of thinking about this is using hackathon as a vehicle. Let's get everyone to get into teams, spend a day, collaborate, figure out the problems they want to solve, learn from each other, because we are all learning at the moment, which is kind of fun. Nobody has got this thing nailed. It's changing. And the more we connect with each other, share the ideas, and I'm part of some amazing communities that do just that, that's how we all move forward quickly.
Lovely. Yeah, makes sense. Absolutely. I love the idea of a hackathon as well. It's like a nice team challenge. So everyone's in the spirit of a hackathon. And yeah, that's a good way to collab. Very good idea. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, Lisa, how do you view marketing in 2026? Now, with so much of content creation platforms coming out there, there are videos, clone videos, podcasts, webinars, everything is kind of just growing, right? So, how do you view marketing for a growing company? Like, how should they view marketing, and what would investment in marketing look like right now?
Great question, Chris. So just because you can do a lot more doesn't always make it the right answer, I would say. And you're a marketing professional, right? The start point is, who are we trying to reach? Where do we find them? How do we genuinely connect with them on an emotional level? I think that, like I say, people can recognize AI slop very
Yeah.
easily, right? So it's being true to the principles that have always worked, but also understanding how we can get more effective, how we can improve the feedback loops. I love the idea. And, one of the things that made me so excited about joining you today was you're running this business out of India, but you're talking to people globally. And I just think that is so much fun. AI is a tool to globalize, for example, translation. Really difficult and expensive to do traditionally. It's a perfect AI use case to do at scale in ways that we could never have imagined. But at the end of the day, who's your customer? What's important to them? So there's a bit of a theme here, right? Around, yeah, it's a tool, but the fundamentals of doing business well, of leading well, those things haven't changed, and people can tell. I don't know. What's your perspective? You're the marketing pro on the call, Chris.
I think marketing, adding on to all the points that you said, I agreed with you on that. First, you got to realize where your customers are, where do they live and breathe, and then market to them accordingly in those platforms. And also, yes, just because there are many options, you don't have to be on all of them. Like, you don't have to be, if
Yeah.
you are strictly B2B business and you know your clients are living on Twitter, then there's no point in making a TikTok account,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yeah,
So just
exactly.
because it's there, because everybody's there on TikTok, you don't have to be there. And my goal for myself personally and for my clients, what I say is, let's not chase virality. There is no point
Yeah.
if 1 million, if my content is seen by 1 million students in the 12th grade, there's no point in that. I'd prefer if 500 working professionals B2B see it over 1 million students in the 12th grade, right? So there should be a differentiation because these are my customers who are going to buy from me. So it's very important for my customer to see the content rather than me being viral and going all over Instagram or TikTok, but it's not seen
Exactly.
by my
Yeah.
audience.
The vanity
So
metrics are kind of fun, but at the
yeah,
end of the day, you want to be talking to the people who want to buy
yes,
what you have to offer. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, 100%. Good
So
advice,
with
Chris.
Gen Z's coming into the workforce now, Lisa, and Gen Alpha will be joining us soon. How do you see the workplace? First of all, how is your experience and run and been with the newer generation? You worked for 30 years, so you worked with boomers,
Uh,
millennials, and now Gen Z's, I think. So how has your experience been so far working with Gen Z?
I think one thing I think is really interesting is when I talk with younger talent, earlier career people, I just love the fact that they have drawn lines I would never have dared to draw at their age, right? Around
Absolutely.
balance, around
Yeah.
purpose,
Yeah.
around growth. They are absolutely there saying, hey, you've got to make this work for me. And like I said, I would never have dared to do that as a young professional. It was,
Yeah.
please, please, please. I think there's some really interesting macro shifts happening. I think we're going to see real fragmentation in the way that organizations are structured over the next 5 to 10 years. And I think we're starting to see organizations making some really interesting choices about how they think about that strategically. So you've got some companies out there loud and proud saying, don't need grads anymore. I'm just going to close down my early careers program. And I think it's just it's so short-sighted, right? Because
Yeah.
if you do that, where is your leadership pipeline? Who are going to be the people leading the company in 10 years' time? The other thing that is a really lovely theme is you hear some organizations talking about the idea that actually they love early career people because they're AI native, they've grown up with it,
Yeah.
they bring that really different mindset. They are the powerhouse of how do we innovate? How do we grow? How do we think differently? How do we reach new markets? And so they're actually lifting the number of early careers hires that they're doing. So, it's not all doom and gloom by any means. And I think we'll see the organizations get this right, really leapfrog the competition. Excuse me. We'll see them really leapfrog in time to come.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I love working with Gen Zs as well. Majority of my team are all Gen Zs. And yeah, I love the ideas that they bring in, the vibe that they bring into the team,
Yeah.
the spirit. And yes, I love so far I've not faced any of those challenges where I'm like, I wouldn't say that to my boss. But yeah, I know what you mean. In my previous organization, we were working in an event company. She would switch off her phone post 7 p.m. once she's out of the office at 6 or 6:30. 7 p.m. her phone would be switched off. And we asked her, she's like, that's my rule. Like, my phone switched off. And we didn't know how to react to it because you're in an event company, right? And like events, it's like an ongoing thing. So yeah, it's been amazing.
It's
So
an
thank you
interesting
so
one though,
much.
isn't it? Because it's so easy to be 24/7.
Yeah. And I think as
Excuse
a
me, and it's so bad
millennial,
for us.
yeah. Are you all right
I'm fine.
with
Sorry,
your throat?
excuse a little cough.
You want a break?
No, good now. Good now.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So as I was saying that, yeah, we would never kind of, as you mentioned earlier, we would never actually say that or do such a thing where you switch off your phone post 7 p.m. after work. But yeah, I like it because I'd seen a post or a meme saying that the Gen Zs are doing all the things millennials would have dreamt of doing when they were in the workforce.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I think it's, I'm very big on flexible working and the idea that when we're talking to people about roles and job design and performance, what counts is outcomes, not the hours that you work.
Exactly.
And so I say to people, do it at 2 o'clock in the morning, standing on your head in your kitchen, if that works for you and the team that you're working with.
Yeah.
I don't care about 9 to 5. I don't care about you being in the office.
Yeah.
Let's set it up. And we learned a lot about this through COVID. I think it was a real watershed as a leader, figuring out how to make the work for people. You get better outcomes. You've got a happier team, and not just because it's a nice thing to do, but because it actually hits the bottom line. So just being really transparent about it I think is what counts. In your example, okay, it's events. Does switching off at 7 p.m., it's really great for balance. Does it actually work for the jobs that need to be done? Or who swings in when person X is offline?
Lisa, before we end the podcast, I want to ask you a very important question. So you've now made the switch from the corporate jungle or the corporate maze to working as a solopreneur. It's been 18 months, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
how has that change been? How have you adapted to it? And how has it had an effect on your mental health and your well-being?
I think I'm incredibly fortunate to get to do what I'm doing. I think one of the things, there were things that were challenging that I didn't expect walking into rooms. So nowadays, I never say to anybody, what do you do? Is my first question. It was really hard walking into rooms without that identity that I'd had for a very, very long time.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I found that was kind of challenging. I think there's a kind of double-edged sword. I love learning and challenging myself.
Hmm.
And I'm certainly I am learning and challenging myself, and I've never run a small
Yeah.
business before, and that's a whole new ballpark. So on one hand, I love it. It's so much fun. It's so energizing. I get to meet and work with really amazing people that I wouldn't otherwise. But at the same time, it's really frustrating to like, oh, okay, so what's a good example? I'm on my own IT support. It's been a while since I did that. Thankfully, AI is a really good helper with IT support.
Very
But, there's a lot of things where you're literally figuring out how to do it. And I think I mentioned earlier the idea that I've always loved working with and being part of a team. And so as a solopreneur, that's been interesting, and how I turn my AI into my team buddies, but also find my tribe. And I've got some amazing people that I collaborate with. And I have a coach. I would say every solopreneur, a coach is a really, really, really good idea if you can possibly do it. You need those sounding boards in your life. So make sure you've got your bench, I guess, to bounce things off. I sometimes say my husband's sick of hearing it. The cat doesn't give me very good answers, and I don't always trust speaking of
There
the
you
cat,
go.
there's the
There you
cat.
go. Hey.
So having the right support network is really key, because it can get lonely, it can get frustrating, revenue can be lumpy. There's a whole host of challenges, as you well know. But all of that said, the opportunity to really create something that you're passionate about is pretty amazing.
I know that feeling. Would you go back to working in the corporate world?
Never say never,
Okay.
but I think no, I can't
You can't,
envisage
right?
it. Yeah, I've got so
I
many
know that.
exciting projects that I'm privileged to be a part of. I think this is the next chapter for me, Chris.
Love it. Love it. Love that, Lisa. This was an amazing conversation. I absolutely had a blast talking to you. And I hope you enjoyed the podcast as well. I hope you had fun.
It has been such a pleasure, Chris. I was just absolutely delighted when you reached out to me. And as I say, I love what you're doing with this amazing range of guests that you've brought together from all over the world, all sorts of different industries and skills. It's really cool. So I'm just very grateful to be part of it and wishing you all the very best for your venture. I think the Marketing Rizz is anyone would be lucky to be working with you and the team.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was amazing. So, Lisa, before I let you go, if anybody wants to reach out to you or work with you, how should they contact you?
LinkedIn is the place to find me. It's my new second home. So reach out on LinkedIn, connect, follow. I publish on all of this stuff several times every week. Love feedback, or there's a link to book a call if anyone would like to chat further.
I'll drop in the link to your LinkedIn in the description of the video as well, and I'll tag you in the videos, of course. So if anybody wants, they can reach out to you.
Fantastic. Always love these conversations. Thanks so much, Chris. Such a pleasure to be
Thanks,
here.
Lisa. Thank you so much.
See you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.